Hi everybody, how are you? It's Jay Victoria, the Energy Queen. Thank you so much for being here on my channel. I'm really excited to talk to you today about something I'm really passionate about. Um, I wanted to share more of my own personal story of why I do the work that I do, clearing negative energy, and what's possible for you. I find whenever I share my story, I've shared it many times, but it's sort of like every time I talk about it, more people are impacted and realize what's possible for you. So I want you to know that that's my intention. I want you to hear like about what's possible for you, because if it's possible for me, I know it's possible for you. So basically, I think I have a pretty relatable start to the story, which is that I got trauma, I have trauma. Like I have dealt with things in my life that were difficult for me. I think just growing up as a little girl in this world, um, I mean, hopefully not for every little girl, but I think a lot of us go through stuff and go through what happens when you go through stuff, which is that you don't know what's happening. You don't know the truth about your situation. And you make all kinds of negative conclusions and take on all kinds of negative beliefs, which are negative energies I've learned that come into you, and those become blocks, and then your energy creates your life. So then you start dealing with triggers in your life, and it's not fun. Negative energy is not natural to us, so it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to not feel good about yourself. And so we all kind of go through stuff like that in life. And then we become adults and we're kind of like, hey, how do I find my way out of this? Because I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I really wanted I don't want to say I wanted to be an adult, but I was kind of like, it's got to be better than this, because like I have a lot of problems with a lot of things. And I really wanted freedom, and I always imagined that being an adult would be like that. I always imagined that I would still feel like I did as a kid, except I would have all kinds of power and control and be able to do whatever I wanted. And then you become an adult and you realize that all the magic that you felt as a kid, all the just the feeling of being yourself and kind of the knowledge about life and your connection to people and to life, it's like, where did that go? And so now I'm like, oh, I do have lots of control, but I also have lots of responsibility. I'm dealing with a lot of fear. I have to deal with this and this and this, and I don't feel like myself. I don't feel like I did as a kid. So it's like, when am I gonna win? When really? And you don't want, at least I didn't. I watched lots of people around me and my relatives, and I even worked in an old folks home for a little bit. I've observed people, and I've just been like, wow, like some people never find the answer. And I just did not want to be that kind of person. I was just like, I'm drawn to people who find solutions. I'm drawn to people who, overcome things and get to a better place, and then teach others how to do that. Like that was what I started to become really drawn to, because I was like, I just don't like this whole idea that I spent my whole childhood thinking I was going to be happy as an adult, and then when I'm an adult, I miss being a kid and being happy because I'm not happy, and now I'm just like trying to undo all the knots that I've messed me up forever. Like I was just like, I don't like this. I'm not gonna do that. And I think it's pretty common what I did instead, which was I became a seeker. I was like, okay, well then what's the answer here? I grew up Catholic. I've always had strong Irish Catholic roots. I'm still Catholic. That's a big part of my life. But at the same time, going to church, like I just didn't feel completely like the personal problems that I was dealing with, like I didn't feel like they were being dealt with. And that's not to say God isn't powerful enough, but it's just like I just didn't feel like, I felt like I needed more. I needed to learn about trauma. I needed to learn about energy. I needed to learn about all these different kinds of things. That felt relevant to becoming the kind of person I wanted to be. And so I became really open, always going to church, but always being really open about different methodologies of how to heal, and kind of trying to find the right one, or trying to find the answer for me. That was my first intention ever, was just to heal myself. I wasn't ever, trust me, thinking I was going to be like working with other people. I was just like, I just don't want to hate everything all the time, including myself. And I just knew, because I think the beauty of being a child and having that sense of fun and happiness and magic, it lets you know that is possible. So I always knew, like, it must be possible, right, for me to feel better. And what I didn't know at the time was that the reason I felt so shitty was all the negative energy inside of me, which again it's not natural to you, so it feels horrible. And then you walk around and no one tells you about it. No one tells you how to get rid of it. And so you're trying all kinds of other things to feel better, which can create addictions, definitely creates addictions, as an escape. You can have also things like trying to fill the void, they call it, with like shopping or relationships or, other things, that just never do it, because what you need to get rid of is the negative energy so that you can feel like yourself again. And to feel like yourself again, you don't have to go back to being a kid. It's like that version of you is always inside of you. It's just your soul with less negative energy, like, covering it. Right? So that's the exciting thing, is that is possible, to live as an adult in like the childlike wonder state, you could say, while having a bunch of freedom, which is obviously, like, what I just said, I always dreamed about. And so I tried everything. I tried crystals, I tried Reiki, I got trained in Reiki. I, did thousands of hours of counseling, psychotherapy, took medication, read all the books, watched all the YouTube, did everything, watched Oprah, every single episode ever. Everything possible, everything I could ever think of. Ayahuasca, everything. Past life therapy, everything. And a lot of that was good. Like, a lot of it helped, and especially the ayahuasca, the past life therapy, those were big turning points for me. So I don't want to discount any of those things, but all of this I didn't know was leading me to something else. And just a little bit of backstory before I tell you what that is. I also had chronic Lyme disease, which was undiagnosed. And I still don't really know what happened, but I think it was since I was 15. It really got triggered in my system when I was 19. By the time I was like 20, 21, 22, I was just like, couldn't function. I dropped out of school when I was 22 or 23, I think 23. I just couldn't function, and my body was dying, and no one told me that. So I was basically put in the category of mentally ill, even though I was literally dying. So you can imagine the effects that had on me. I take away a lot of good things, which is like a sense of trust in myself, trust even against authorities like doctors. I would be like, you don't really know, and I turned out to be right. So anyway, I take a lot of good things from that. But I prayed to the image of divine mercy, and that is really the central energy of the work I do now with energy. The divine mercy is an image that Jesus had commissioned to a nun in Poland in the 1930s. We're used to seeing him dying on the cross. That's like one of the main images we have of Christ, right? But he had her paint an image of two rays of light, one blue and one red, representing the blood and the water, that when they cut him open on the cross, two liquids basically flowed out of him miraculously, like in two streams, the blood and the water. And he wanted us to see that that's the truth about him. It's like an image of the resurrected Christ, which is the current Christ. Like, he's not dead anymore. And once he died, he went into heaven as a physical body. So he's like still this guy. And it was with his arms held out and the mercy, you know, it's called the divine mercy. And the bottom of the image says, Jesus, I trust in you. He really wants our trust. And I read that was one of the things that when I was doing all these things, looking for answers, I read that diary. And I used to highlight the things that he said because I found it so fascinating to see what he said. I was trying to basically find clues about how life works. So I was like, somebody's got to have the answer here. And he's probably a good one to listen to. And the funny thing is, too, I didn't really have much of a relationship with Jesus. Like, I really, like, even though I grew up Catholic, I was always, I think it's kind of funny now, I was always just kind of like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, everybody keeps telling me about him. I just was like, I don't really understand. I really connected to Mary because I thought, like, she's a nice lady, but like, I was just like, I don't really understand. And like, he's always like dead. I was just like, anyway. So, but I had enough sense to be like, but he's like the savior, right? So like, he's got some information. So I found it fascinating to read that diary because, he, you know, in the Bible, you hear a lot of things that he said, but this was more, like, so much, like, there's so much more in this diary that he tells her. And one of the things that he said was, it's the trust in my mercy that brings graces to people. And graces meaning the things that you want. And I was like, oh, that sounds like the law of attraction. It's like, you know, when you trust, it's the same thing as believing. And when you believe, things happen. And I was like, wait, is he talking about law of attraction? Like, is law of attraction actually trust in Jesus? Like, that was like an aha moment for me. I was like, oh, they're the same. Like, we kind of talk about things with our own wording, but like, what if we're just all talking about the same thing? And I developed more trust in him, I think through reading that, but also just because nothing else was working and I was literally dying. It got really, really bad and I just couldn't function anymore. I felt like a 9-year-old woman. I could barely stand up. I couldn't leave the house. I had agoraphobia because Lyme disease affects every organ in your body, including your mind. I won't go into all that, but if you want to know more about that, I can talk about it. If anybody is going through that or has questions about that, I definitely have been through it. But I exhausted all the other options. And I think just internally, I had this feeling of like knowing I was in trouble. It was hard. I went to talk to the priest at the church, who's a really wonderful guy, several times. Cause I was just like, I just don't understand, you know, I just don't understand. It was exhausting. But God can make us strong in these ways. And eventually I just prayed on my knees to the image of divine mercy because my mom had bought a giant poster of it, put it in our kitchen. My brothers all made fun of it and stuff, but like, I think it was actually a really smart thing to do looking back, because I prayed on my knees and cried in front of it. I just was like, nothing I could do made any difference. And I prayed and I asked for help. And I kind of was like, so genuinely from my soul, I was like, if you want me to feel this bad, because you're in charge of everything, like if you want me to feel this bad for the rest of my life, I will. Like, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to die that I knew of. I was like, okay. Like, I'll do it. It was kind of the same as saying your will be done. You know, if it sounds like that. And I really meant it, because it was just kind of like, I am doing my best. And if you are really in charge and you're letting this happen, then like, okay, I trust that then. And so it was the trust, and then 3 weeks later, or some kind of short period of time later, I got a diagnosis, which saved my life. I didn't know what Lyme disease was. I was like, really? Could it be that? And then I got a test. It was positive. I was like, we're going with this. I got treatment. I found a doctor. I got treatment. My life, it was like a new life, a new chapter of my life. Literally getting my life back. I didn't know how sick I was, but I was very, very sick, because I had lots of reactions to the stuff I was taking to kill the Lyme disease. And it was just like, praise be to Jesus, really. But that gave me a lot of faith. And what that did as well. So one of the lessons I'm trying to tell you here is that if you're somebody who's going through a lot of shit, I think that there's a purpose to it. Every single time. I think every single time there's a purpose to it. And I think that if you come to Jesus, if you come to God and you say something genuine like I did, I can't even tell you what to say. I just know it has to be really genuine. Wherever you're at, whatever that is, I know that he'll do something. And he was really patient with me. I didn't really turn to him like that until the very last moment, like I was just kind of like, I think I just knew. It was just like, I spent years trying to figure out what was wrong with me, trying to get a diagnosis, trying to figure out the problem so I could solve the problem, trying to heal. And I remember the year 2011, somebody gave me a planner for New Year's. And I knew, looking at the first day of January, this whole year, I'm just going to be going to appointments. I'm just going to be reading books. I wasn't going to, I couldn't go to school. I couldn't work. Like, that was my entire life, was just like trying to heal myself and trying to find an answer. And luckily I could live with my parents and just sort of like do that. But I did that for like 2 or 3 years, like, which is not, I know there's no set normal to life, but like that wasn't normal at all. It's for, and I mean, in anybody's definition around me. And so I felt like an outcast. I felt really judged. I felt like a loser. I felt all the things. But it's like, I just knew, like, I can't, like, it was just like logical to me. Like, there's a problem here and it needs to be fixed. And like, I can't just act like it's not there, because I have already kind of tried that. Like, it's not going anywhere. I've tried the medication. I've tried everything, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm saying is I really tried everything for like years. And so you do that for years, and you will get to a certain point and be like, okay, like, I'm getting worse. I don't know. Like, it was that kind of moment. And what I want to tell you is what happened after was not just, this is the power of Jesus. I didn't just get a diagnosis and get my life back, which is what I thought happened. That's what I thought happened. I was like, oh, thank you. And I had so much faith, and I've had so much faith ever since, because I know that it was him. Like, it was just like so obvious. Like, I tried everything for years, and then I did that, prayed to him, and then it was like, oh, okay. Like, I really believed. And I put the poster up on my bed, and I just really believed. I was like, you got to do something. And he did. And he will. And it wasn't just that, though. What happened was I started seeing energy, which, it's like, how do you explain that? I've heard people say that when you are close to death, which I think I was, and you choose to live, which is what I did in that prayer. If you notice, I was like, I will live. I will do this. If you're close to death, but you choose to live, your pineal gland opens up, and it's like it's like biological, but also like supernatural. It's like supernatural abilities that are inside of you can start to bloom. And I started seeing energy in the world with my eyes. I started seeing light moving around. I started seeing dark moving around, and I was just like, am I sick with Lyme disease still? Like, is this like a symptom? What's going on? And I honestly just watched it for a while. I was just like, okay, I'm glad I'm alive and I'm getting better and I get to live, but like, I don't know what this is. I'm just gonna watch. And the more I watched, the more I started to realize that it was part of the world beyond our world that I was seeing. It was like I could watch, it wasn't just like light and dark, blah. It was like doing certain things, like a certain type of light, and it was moving in a certain way at a certain time. It was moving in and out of people. It was different sizes, dark, moving in, you know, the same way. And I kind of started to just observe and piece together information about that. It was like, oh, interesting, like this, or this person said this and then this happened, or this came into them, or that. And so I would start to kind of watch those things. And I started to also get something that I had never happened before to me ever was, if you remember the Disney show That's So Raven, she would have glimpses of the future, like a glimpse, and then it would be gone, and she would know that would happen. And by the end of the show, that what she saw always happened. But the part of the funniness, the humor of the show was her trying to delay things and change them, but what she saw always happened. It's like she just saw a glimpse of the future. That started happening to me. I started seeing glimpses of the future, and I was like, oh my God, I'm like That's So Raven now. Like, what is going on? I started seeing bigger picture glimpses, I call them. That still happens to me, where it's like, you know, you have your own world that you see in front of you, but imagine if you could see everything for a second and see all the connections and see what's really going on. And that would happen. I started to be able to realize I could read energy, and by that I mean I could tune into energies and gather information from it. So I could like tune into somebody's energy and just gather a whole bunch of information, or I could tune into situations past, even in the past, like gather information. Or I just realized, like, I started basically just working with energy and understanding it and realizing like what it is, and that whole world started to be revealed to me. And this is one reason why it happened really naturally like that. It wasn't something I was trying to do. It literally just was happening to me, for me. And that's one reason why when people say things to me about like, oh, you know, you're talking about witches and negative stuff, like talking about that in a negative way, or, you know, scolding me for being evil, or like that energy work is evil. And I'm just like, listen, like Jesus brought me here. Like, I prayed to him, and then these gifts started to develop. I know that it's from him, and he created the energy world. Like, let's get real. So like, I just see it as like a really intelligent way of looking at life, because that is part of life that most people can't even begin to understand how it works, let alone see it. I think it's such a rare gift. I relate to a lot of things Einstein says, but even he, I don't think, could see energy. So all my work now with Energy Queen is based off of my observations of energy, of observing it, of testing theories based on that. That's what I do. That's what I teach. And I eventually, you know, I kept living my life. I got a English degree. Oh, I finished my English degree finally. I got a journalism degree, and I was a psychic for people for a while because I could read energy so well, but I just felt like I wasn't really helping people. So I just sort of tried to keep going the journalism path. After graduating, I got a job at a reflexology school, helping them with social media and photography and stuff. And they let me take a free course. And this is kind of like where the things align that you don't even know are aligning in your life. And I took a chakra balancing course because I had started to get interested in the chakras through someone named Amberly Lyons. She calls herself the chakra girl, and one thing she said really made me think twice about the chakras. Like it caught my attention because she said with chakra work, she started to feel like she looked the way that she was supposed to look. And I was like, oh my God, wait, can working with energy like change the way you look? Because like we're spending so much money on beauty products all the time and trying to, and like, wait a second, is there something that the whole beauty industry isn't like telling us? Like that, like, can we actually look better, like be better looking and look more like we're supposed to look if our energy is clear? Like I was just like, wait, that's like a kind of a big deal. And it is a big deal, I will tell you. People often think, just as a side note, people often think I'm like at least 10 years younger than I really am. I'm 74. No, I'm kidding. But people like, if people genuinely think that I'm like 10 years younger than I actually am, which is really nice after being through all the struggles. Okay, anyway. Yeah, so I was interested in the chakras because of that. So I was like, chakra balancing sounds good. I will look at that. Was in this class. It was me and one other girl or young woman. That was the class, the two of us and the teacher. And chakra balancing was all about learning about the chakras, which I was like, this is so cool. And like balancing them, meaning that you made them all the same size. And so I learned about how they spin and what they look like, that they're cone shaped. And that was all really cool for me, right? Because like I already was seeing elements of the energy world. And in that class, I saw my first chakra with my eyes. I saw a little hand chakra, which was purple. And I saw it with my eyes. And I was like, I was just like, wow, this is real. Yeah, and that's to this day the only time I've ever seen a chakra that clear, like clear as anything else that you see. It was beautiful too. And so like the energy world is just part of our bodies, are like it's who we are. It's like exactly like nature. It's just part of creation. Jesus created the chakras, you know. It's beautiful to work with that. Just like you can work with the body and become a doctor or a surgeon. It's like the same thing, right? So I think it's absolutely false to criticize people for working with energy when it's like no different to me than being a surgeon. And on that note, in the chakra balancing class, I started to see negative energy in the chakras. It looked like dark lumps of coal, stuff like that. And I ignored it at first because the course didn't say anything about that at all. So I was like, I will just ignore that. But then I did a bunch of practice work over the summer with clients on my own. And I was just like, I just got to do it. I'm just going to like take this out. And I would reach in and take it out like that. Like just remove it and take it out. And they started having wild results. Like the trauma being gone. Physical symptoms being gone, their lives changing radically in positive ways, shifting like in one session really fast. And I was just like, oh, there's something to this. Removal of whatever that negative energy is. It's like that, I guess, is the trauma. That is the stuff that's beneath the stuff. It's like when you think about trauma, like I started out talking at the beginning of this video about like, where is it? Right? That's what I learned in that course was like, well, on my own, actually, through my practice work, was like everything negative that can ever happen in your life or that you feel inside, it is in a specific place in your energy. It is a specific shape. type of energy. Negative energies are negative beliefs, I eventually found out through my work and all my research and work with clients. And it's something that's so easy to remove. Again, like I've had a long journey to get up to the point to be able to be somebody who can see energy and remove negative energy, but it was the instigator, the catalyst was Jesus, you know? So I knew like this is from him, and he really started, I felt, training me. Like I could feel, I would have experiences with God and with Jesus that were just showing me more about what was going on. And I remember even in the months leading up to taking the course, I didn't even know that would happen in my life, taking that course, but I had full days of deja vu. I knew I was in the wrong life. I had to get into a totally different life, and my dream was to live in New York City and do comedy. At this time, I was in Canada, in the East Coast, where I'm originally from. And full days of deja vu. I was in the wrong life. It was terrifying. It was so terrifying every single day. I would wake up and almost see negative energy like pouring out of my eyes. Like I was just like, oh my God, I'm letting go of so much. And this wild just transformation and pushing me towards something new. And I kept following it because it's like, I just knew there was nowhere else to go. Like there's just like, that's what it's like when you really start to really heal and really resurrect. And I call this personal resurrection now. Because it is this process that we're all going through. I found this is what we're looking for, whether or not you get those kind of like urgent messages. I believe this is kind of urgent for all of us, that we live our true purpose, our true life. And whatever that is for you, it is the thing that makes you feel the highest energy. That's it. So for me, it was like, I want to live in New York and do comedy. Like that is a specific TV show here I want to be on, and that's like the thing that I want to do. Like that's the thing that makes me feel the highest energy. It always seemed crazy to me, so I couldn't do it. I couldn't make myself do anything about it. But then one night God showed me like a sort of like a I kind of like got an energetic tour of the resurrection, and I felt I remember feeling the feeling of, I don't know if it was the Jesus going, like, you know how we say in the Apostles' Creed, he descended into hell after he died. Like, all I know is I got a glimpse of what hell is like. And for me, energetically, it was just the feeling of total separation from God. And so when we're talking about evil and people saying, oh, energy work is evil, you could say the same thing about being a surgeon or anybody, the president of the United States, anybody could be evil. The definition of evil or hell is separation from God. You can be somebody who does anything, even being a priest, and if you're separate from God, that's the definition of evil. So if you're taking someone who works with energy and saying, well, you're just evil, like, no, that's not what evil is. Evil is separation from God. So you could even be religious and evil at the same time if you're separate from God. See how that works? So I got a glimpse of that. And then I got a glimpse of the resurrection, which was one of the coolest things I've ever experienced. It was because it happened like that. It was just like done. It was like fast. It was that fast, which I think is so badass and cool. I think that's just the coolest thing ever. That's how easy it is for God to do something so profound. And the message was, it's already been done. I was like, oh my God, this happened like 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago. It's a long time. It already happened. I was like, oh my God, all the negative energy has already been defeated. It already happened. It happened like that, and it happened 2,000 years ago. Like, no one can go change that. Nobody. It's done. Like, it's been done for 2,000 years, you guys. All the negative energy was defeated. That's why the death was so profound. It wasn't just a physical death. He was taking on all the negative energy and he defeated it with the resurrection. So what we do in life now is, if we believe in the resurrection, if we access that energy, which is something I love to talk about, I love teaching about. I'm actually writing an ebook right now called Your Personal Resurrection. It's coming out January 15th. If you're interested in that, it's $77 US. It's going to come with a resurrection energy sound bath, to literally bathe you in the energy of resurrection, help purify you. If you're interested in that, you can email me. That'll be in the description. But I'm really excited about that, because it's such a life-changing concept that truly changed my life. Because I know I'm talking about a lot of things, but cut to right now, I've been in New York almost 6 years doing comedy. That's how real this stuff is. And how did I get here? Well, what happened after that was, I realized that that's the truth about all the things that we go through, all the trauma, all the things, is that it's not real. And I'm not saying your experience isn't real, but the negative energy wants so badly to stay inside of you and to convince you that you can't overcome it and it's going to take a long time. That's the thing that kind of pisses me off now, is people thinking it has to take a long time. When my clients work with me, it's like timeline jump, catapult forward, like, because that's the truth. And I've discovered like a way of accessing that, and not just discovered, but it was really given to me by Jesus. Like, again, when he saved my life and got me that diagnosis, I didn't know it was so much more than that, and that I would be teaching people and telling people about what's possible. And again, like, my life changed even before I started helping other people. When I moved to New York later that year, I didn't know that I would be working with other people. I just knew, like, this is real. And what I'm saying is, the version of you that you know you really are is the truth about you. And anything in the way of that is just negative energy, which is literally something that can be lifted out of you. I used to call my work energy surgery. I would literally, just like surgery, just like a surgeon going in and lifting out the negative energy, just like that, like pulling it out. There can be a lot of negative energy. That's one of the things that you need to know about these things. That's what I've learned, is that there are a lot of layers. But getting any help can make a really big difference. I think at different points in your life, you might need different types of assistance to kind of get you into that lane. But the point that I'm making is, those things, for me personally, what happened was, when I started lifting negative energy out of people, seeing the changes instantly in them that created, I was like, and again, it was based on the resurrection. For me, it was like the concept that, yeah, negative energy is already defeated. I can literally get rid of it, because it's 2,000 years ago, it was all defeated. What we deal with now is just kind of like an illusion of fear. There's not actually any power to any of this. So, and because he resurrected, we can resurrect. It's like just the truth. It's just the truth. and through him, we're given that. And I think that's an important point in my story, is like, I needed him, to literally stay alive and to resurrect and to continue resurrecting, which I'm continuing to do to this day. And it's just always so rewarding and beautiful. But basically what happened with me was, I looked at the results people were getting from taking negative energy out. And then I was like, well, negative energy is just doubt and fear. And that's exactly what's keeping me from moving to New York. Doubt and fear, which often disguises itself as logic and trying to help you. And I would hear everybody say around me, oh, you can't do that, or it's too expensive, or, wait until you do this and then you can do that. And literally I was like, how old am I going to be before I ever do anything about this? Like, how, literally. I felt like, if I don't do it now, I don't. And after all my experiences, I was like, well, this is just who I really am. The resurrected version of me is the real me, because Jesus already defeated everything else. Everything else is the lie. This is the only truth. Same for you. Whatever the highest version of your life is, the highest energy version that makes you feel the highest energy inside, that's the truth. Everything else is a lie. Anything else you try to be is a lie. So I did sessions on myself. I took out the fear. I took out the negative energy. I found it and I would remove it. And then I was able to do it. And it wasn't as crazy or hard as I thought. and and since I was able to do that, I was like, well, then I can help other people do this. And I really believe that. And if you're somebody who's still waiting for that moment in your life for your personal resurrection to happen, and you're kind of still in the before, where it's like, when is something going to change? You know, when is that going to happen for me? That's why I do the work that I do. I was given this ability to help people, and not just to work with people energetically to provide this work, but to educate, to talk about it, to tell you things that can help lead you. Because I remember being a seeker myself. I remember being somebody looking for this exact information, and it took me so much time, suffering, effort, faith. It's a beautiful battle that you go through, but what a gift for me to be able to give to somebody else, to say, hey, I'm just going to give you this 40-minute video where you can like get a bunch of this info and hopefully do a lot of good things with it, or see things differently with it. Or maybe you want to work with me. You can book a free consult with me in the description, and or maybe get an ebook and start there with your personal resurrection. But whatever you do, I just want you to know that it's real. And the pathway will never stop being something that you walk, and it will never stop being something that you need Jesus to help you do. In my personal experience, that's the truth. He really is. When he said, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life," it's the truth. The truth. He is the energy of resurrection. He is what we're all looking for, the resurrective energy. And if you have trouble connecting with the idea of Jesus, I want you to connect with the energy of Jesus. That's what I did, to find out who he really is, beyond what anybody on earth says. You'll feel who he is. He's familiar. You know him, and he is love. God is love. And so if you believe in love, if you believe in mercy, that's who we're talking about. And that's where the power is. And he is still in power. He's still in heaven. He's still with us. He's still helping us to resurrect. And I hope this helped you. So thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments. And I'm looking forward to talking to you more. Let's live. Bye.